What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. So we got several major things going on here right now in our country. Very serious. And a lot of people have very different opinions on this stuff. First, we'll start with New Mexico, which is a larger issue. It's not just this one state. Take a look here. Yeah, the New Mexico governor has temporarily banned guns. Banned guns. This is for open carry and concealed carry. This comes after two children have been shot and killed. You guys can let me know your thoughts on this here in the comments. Take a look at what happened here and now what the governor is declaring.
We turn now to New Mexico, where some gun rights advocates are fighting to overturn the governor's emergency public health order temporarily banning the carrying of firearms in public areas in the Albuquerque area. The ban includes residents with open and concealed firearms permits. The move comes after the recent gun violence deaths of two children. Here's ABC's Zareen Shah.
Do not comply.
Tonight, protesters publicly carrying firearms, defying a 30-day ban by New Mexico's governor as Albuquerque reels from the shooting deaths of two children.
It is time to declare an end to this kind of violence. It is, in fact, an epidemic.
The emergency public health order by Democrat Michelle Lujan Grisham suspending both open and concealed guns, excluding law enforcement and licensed security.
No one right now in New Mexico, and particularly in Albuquerque, is safe at a movie theater, at a park, at a school, at a grocery store, at an Isotopes game.
That's where authorities say 11-year-old Froilan Villegas was killed and a woman critically injured in a drive-by shooting just last week. And 5-year-old Galilea Samaniego died last month when shots were fired into a trailer home where she was sleeping, according to police. They say a 19-year-old woman and 4 juveniles have been arrested and charged with murder.
They deserve adult consequences for what they have done.
Tonight, 2 gun groups joined by local residents filing lawsuits calling the order unconstitutional.
We have to stand up as Americans and say enough is enough. Stop going after inanimate objects and go after the real problem, the criminals.
But Governor Grisham says parents who've lost their children have rights too.
They deserve my attention to have the debate about whether or not in an emergency we can create a safer environment. Because what about their constitutional rights? I took an oath to uphold those too.
And Lindsay, New Mexico had the 7th highest gun death rate in the country in 2020, according to the Center for Gun Violence Solutions. But Lindsay, the NRA tonight says the New Mexico Bill of Rights guarantees the right to keep and bear arms for security, defense, and all other lawful purposes.
Yeah, New Mexico Governor Michelle Grisham used a public health order Friday to ban firearms in Albuquerque, a move that has garnered widespread criticism from Democrats and Republicans amid concerns that it could violate the Second Amendment. Grisham's declaration bans the carrying of firearms, both open and concealed carry, in parts of the states that meet a specific threshold of violent crime. Only the city of Albuquerque meets that threshold. It applies to public places, including government buildings and open spaces. It will expire after 30 days after Grisham opts to extend it. Police and security personnel are exempt from firearm bans. She cited a recent spate of shootings in the city, including one that killed an 11-year-old boy outside a minor league baseball game and a series of shootings targeting Muslim men last month, saying, quote, "As I said yesterday, the time for standard measures has passed when New Mexicans are afraid to be in crowds, to take their kids to school, to leave a baseball game, when the very rights to exist is threatened by the prospect of violence at every turn. Something is wrong." This is where it gets interesting. Will it be enforced? Local police have come out against the measure. Both the Albuquerque Police Department and the local county sheriff have vowed not to enforce it. Sheriff John Allen, who is a Democrat, said he does not feel comfortable enforcing the measure that could violate the Second Amendment. saying, quote, "While I understand and appreciate the urgency, the temporary ban challenges the foundation of our Constitution, which I swore an oath to uphold," he said in a statement on Friday. "While I'm worried about placing my deputies in positions that could lead to civil liability conflicts, as well as the potential risk posed by prohibiting law-abiding citizens from their constitutional rights to self-defense. However, there are places you are prohibited from carrying a firearm. You think about airports, you think about certain buildings where it says no firearms allowed. Um, there are certain places that you're not allowed to take a firearm into. Schools. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but there are certain places where you're not allowed to carry. You guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. And again, I'm just trying to think about this from all sides of the story. That's kind of what I do here on my channel. Just think about everything from each point of view. So you can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Think about the parents who, I seen that video footage there of I assume the parents who lost the lives of their children. Yeah, it's a very tough point of view. Remember, we just had September 11th here as well. So we had the remembrance of that, and also a very tough day to remember. Let me know your thoughts on this. We do have the right to bear arms, but only in certain circumstances. If you think about it, you don't have the right to bear arms in an airport. You don't have the right to bear arms in a school. You don't have the right to bear arms everywhere per se. So it's interesting. I mean, your thoughts. You also got to kind of think about here. There are, like free speech. You don't actually have free speech for everything. It's actually unlawful to go and yell fire in a crowded area if there is no fire. So free speech, believe it or not, actually only goes so far. You can't unlawfully yell free speech if it's if it's fake. Fake news, believe it or not. So you can't go into a crowded area, and just the famous example is you can't yell fire if it's fake. Yeah, so that's one thing I know for sure. So just want to put that out as just as something that comes to mind here. We are also looking at a very, very possible government shutdown here. You can see here, lawmakers prepare for the shutdown blame game because both Republicans and Democrats have a lot of unreasonable demands that the other parties will not like. And the possibility of a government shutdown grows more and more likely. Yeah, you can see here, Democrats and Republicans alike want to set the record straight in case the lights go out. It's the other side's fault. Yeah, imagine that. Now, less than 3 weeks remain until government funding is set to run out. And the House hasn't returned. I'm not sure if they've returned now. Senators are already offering a preview of what is sure to be a major blame game in Congress. It's always the other side's fault. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer from the Democrats said in a letter to his Democratic colleagues that this month would surely be the fault of political games by the Republicans. The Republicans are saying the exact opposite. When the Senate returns next week, our focus will be on funding the government and preventing what he says the House Republican extremists from forcing a government shutdown. Schumer went after House conservatives again in a speech on the Senate floor last week, calling out their demands and urging both parties to get on the same page about keeping the government open. And remember, if there is a government shutdown, there's like over 2 million Americans that work for the governments that will temporarily lose their jobs as well. The only way we finish this process is through bipartisanship, The idea of both parties working together, particularly a party governed by extreme 30 or 40 members filling out a wish list that they know they can pass. I don't know if that's supposed to be can't pass. The hard-line conservative House Freedom Caucus last month vowed to vote against any government funding bill. However, some House conservatives have gone even further in recent months to dial up the pressure by threatening a shutdown and downplaying potential consequences. Senator John Kennedy says they know that spending and debt accumulation is out of control, and Republicans have offered solutions, and they refuse to even consider them. I think meaning more cuts. I think Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden want to force a shutdown, meaning I think they won't consider more cuts. I think that's the mistake if they did. Senator Ted Cruz told The Hill. Also, Ukraine funding will be a major focus as well, as the White House has requested $13 billion more for Ukraine. Remember, that all has to be approved by Congress. There is a confusion on whether or not President Biden just doles this out, which is not the case. It all has to be approved by Congress, which means both Republicans and Democrats in the House and the Senate have to approve this stuff. So that will also be a major focus here going forward, probably through this government appropriation or this government funding bill. There may be some more Ukraine funding is in there. The big problem with this is that if Ukraine doesn't get more funding per se, that could be an actual like victory per se for Vladimir Putin. Okay. Remember that like $13 billion, it sounds like a lot, but remember that like the US government defense, or I'm sorry, the United States defense is like $850 billion every single year. And it's not going to be long until it's $1 trillion a year. So it's like $850 billion a year. So $13 billion, or I mean, they've spent like a little bit over $100 billion. We'll call it $150 billion. $850 billion every single year for the defense of the United States, which we're not even actively in a war. If we were actively in a war, it would probably double or something like that. And this has actually significantly harmed Russia's army. They've lost hundreds of thousands of men and significantly weakened their army and their troops without the United States even having to put any like soldiers in the way or anything like that. All that the US has really done is helped Ukraine defend their country from an invader. You know what I'm saying? So I get different, everybody has a different feeling about this, but that's only like 1/8 of the United States military budget that we spend every single year on US defense every year. So again, Russia is probably public enemy number one. I mean, I don't think that North Korea or China would be considered, the largest threat to our country. I would think that Russia would be number one, and this has significantly weakened Russia, no doubt about it. So that is a different kind of way to look at it. Let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here. If you haven't yet, subscribe down below. Click the bell icon so you don't miss out on any new videos. Thanks for liking and sharing these videos here as well. Click here to see this new warning that the White House just sent out. Or click here to see what Americans are panicking on over this new major problem. Click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.